Hi guys. I want to explain to you the case study steps. So, just so you know, I'll call problem of the month case study. I will call it problem of the month. I will call it a performance task sometimes. You're going to see it all different ways. This really applies to any time you have a really big problem and I tell you to do a write up, okay? So, what you're going to do is you're going to take the problem of the month because we've been looking at it, we've been asking questions about it, and now you're going to really sit down and you're going to solve the problem. You're going to do the computation, you're going to work on the numbers, you're going to get the answers just the way that you would normally do the math, okay? And then you're going to come back and you're going to do what I will often call a case study write up. And in this write up, you have to look at it like a language arts essay. Okay, you have an introduction, you have body paragraphs, you have evidence, and you have a conclusion. So please know that the first time you do this, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to do your best and you're going to try to organize your work and you're going to take my advice and take my instruction and then you're going to turn it into me and I'm going to give you some feedback and then you're going to make it a little bit better, kind of like a rough draft in language arts. Okay, so here are the steps. And then I'll kind of explain how it applies to problem of the month. So first of all, what does the problem ask for? What is the problem asking you for? Okay, that is number one step you need to write down. And when you're writing that down, it should say a lot of the same words from the problem, but do not write just the problem word for word. You know, the problem is asking for, and then you explain yourself. The second part of step one is what is the important information? And when you're explaining that, you could say, I know that, and then complete that sentence. Lastly, in step one, what do you need to know? What is the missing information? And I'm telling you, if you can answer these two questions, they should be very similar, the top and the bottom here. And it should really guide you in figuring out what step one is of the problem. Sometimes what the problem asks for is a step away from what you need to know. So if you figure out what you need to know, what are you missing in the problem? That's the information you're looking for. Okay? Step two, what's your plan to solve this problem? Lots of different plans we're going to talk about this year, but some of the ones that we use often is draw a picture, make a table, make a chart, write an equation, guess and check. We could use guess and check sometimes, working backwards, and there's a lot of other ones we're going to talk about this year. So you need to come up with your plan. If you're not sure what your plan is called, you can send me an email and describe your plan, and I can help you come up with some mathematical language to describe what your plan is. So if you think about it, step one, step two, you've not done any math yet. You're still just sorting through what the problem is asking you to do and what you're going to do to try to solve the problem. Now, you probably at this point already did the math. You probably already worked out the numbers. That's okay. You take that and you organize it back into these steps and you rewrite it as if you haven't done it yet. I plan to use a drawing strategy. Okay? And then step three is where the most important part of all of this write-up is. It is your work and an explanation. And I'm telling you, this is everything right here. Okay, and I'm going to give you some pointers in a second about how to do that. And you don't have to use this way that I'm about to share with you, but it's a really, really good strategy. And then you end this by writing a conclusion. And in your conclusion, you should take little pieces of everything you've done and then have an answer. And because we're talking real life situations, word problems, it shouldn't be the answer's three. Three what? Are we talking $3, 3 feet, 3 miles? You got to really make sure that your conclusion is using words back from the actual problem, okay? So what I want to explain to you further, and this is the point of me making the video, because I truly could have just given this to you, and I think it's relatively self-explanatory. However, your work and your explanation, that is the key of why we're practicing this. So you're going to do your write-up in a Google Doc. That's not an option. And I know that it's very difficult sometimes to put math into a Google Doc. But what else do we have to do on the computer? The performance task for the state at the end of the year. So that's really what we're practicing. So I understand that just putting this math into the Google Doc is a challenge, but that's part of the assignment. Okay, so one of the things you can do in the Google Doc, if you look and you do insert, so click on insert, click on table, and then you will be given a chart, and you can do like, let's say like a 2x5 or something like that. You'll see it when you go there, okay? So what I like to do is I like to make a table. So after that, it'll put a table, after you click on all that, into your Google Doc. And as you type into these rows, it'll actually expand for you, which is nice. So I know that I'm picking really easy math. You take your steps, though, of your problem, and you put your steps onto this side. So let's just say, okay, obviously your math's going to be a little bit harder than 2 plus 3, but just as an example. So on this side, what I see students do is they say, I did 2 plus 3, and I got 5. We know, because you wrote 2 plus 3 equals 5. You are not just translating the math into words. You are trying to come up with academic language and academic vocabulary to describe what you're doing. You're not going to be great at it necessarily the first time you do it, okay? I know that this is adding integers. And you may not be ready to say it that way yet. So you could say something like, I had 2 positive numbers. I know when they're positive. I add them and I keep the sign. Talk about some of the stuff we've talked about. Go back through your math journal. Find some of those words in that academic language that you can use. And I promise the more we do this, the more those words are going to come very easy to you. In the meantime, you've got to try. So, recap. Take your work that you've already been doing or you've already done, all the numbers and the computation part. Organize it into, just as one example, if you want to do it a different way, you can. But remember, you're doing this in a Google Doc, and sometimes it's a challenge. So take your steps and organize them down in a table, which should be all from your paper that you've already done your computation. And then come on this side and really try to explain each step. Okay, and not just translate, I did 2 plus 3 and that equals 5. Okay, so for the performance task, because there's so many different numbers to it, I think what would be the best way to do this is do step 1 and 2 for the entire performance task. Okay, so you're only doing step 1 and 2 once, just step 1 and 2 once. And then show all your work in a table like this. So all the other numbers, you're going to show your work and you're going to explain your work. Okay, and then at the end, write your conclusion just once for the entire problem. Okay, so hopefully this helps. If you get stuck on putting a table in or finding some sort of character, which means like you can't find the plus sign or you need an arrow and you don't know where arrows are, if you're looking for some sort of, they call them special characters or math equation symbols in Google Docs, you can either Google it, or you can ask me and I'll screenshot where to find that information. Honestly, start clicking on stuff. You're going to find the stuff that you're looking for. And the more familiar you get with being able to explain your work in a computer, the stronger your math writing is going to be and the better you're going to do on that performance task at the end of the year. Okay? So give it a shot. Don't give up. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just do your best, and I'm going to give you lots of advice, and you're going to get really good at this process this year. Okay, so good luck. Email me with questions. I would love to help you, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.